systems online. Weapons systems online. All systems nominal.
Hello, welcome once again to the Amazing Live Show. My name is A-MEZ-ING. It's great to see everyone here once again. We are now in the phase 1 of the circuit breaker in Singapore, and some of you guys are already back at work, but thank you so much for joining us. And I think a lot of people here tonight are very excited to have someone on the show. All right, I know a lot of people have been like messaging me, hey Maz, you gotta bring this guy on the show, you gotta bring this guy. So well, I've been listening and we have got him on the show. All right, so more on that later. But yeah, Mato, good to see you. Furry, hey, hi. Yep. 5-1 done what? I'm not sure what you've done. Yon, hi, good to see you as well. Don Kumara, hi from Batam. I have to be very honest with you, I almost read that as Batman. I don't know why. Yeah, but anyway, Batam's a lovely island. I love going there for holidays. Snap Sniper, sorry, did I get it right? Sniper, yeah. Yo, what's up, man? Mato, good to see you. My wife is watching now. Miss Desert's here. Oh, done sharing and spreading love. Yep, thank you so much. So yes, do share the channel, do spread the love, tell people that we are now live, and we're gonna have someone really epic join us this evening. James is the first one here on the chat box. He just went like, hey, smiley face. I know he has a meeting right now, but he's like, you know, dividing the love equally between two particular streams, I think. Yeah, so anyway, today we're gonna have Benjamin Von Wong on the show, and I think most of you guys out here probably know him because he's very famous. He's done a lot of wonderful epic works, and now he's doing a lot of very impactful works that actually talk about the environment, and I think this is something that I really want to explore today. So if you guys have got any questions with regards to his works and all that, you can always ask them in the chat box. And I'm very excited to hear where you guys are from. So do say, hi, I'm from Singapore. Hi, I'm from Toa Payoh, Singapore, if you want to be more specific. Or hi, I'm from Malaysia. I know we got friends from Malaysia as well. Shout out to folks who are actually on the other side of the planet, because I understand that some of you guys are actually watching this from, I think someone said that he's from US. Yeah, I think so. Nevada, I think, to be precise. And it's actually super early in the morning right now, and I'm very, very sorry that, you know, that's just the way the world works. All right, we are at 8 p.m. here in Singapore. It's 8 a.m. in some countries, so even for Ben, it's actually very early for him right now. Zik is from Jurong East. Yes, hi. Nothing good ever happens in Jurong. I'm really sorry, bro. I can never get it off. I off my mind. I never liked Jurong. Jurong is a horrible place in Singapore. I always end up going there for work, and I always end up getting lost, or bad weather. It's just, you know, I don't know. Stamps Zig's passport. Yep, that's right. You need to have a passport to go to Jurong. It's just so far away from the rest of the world. Yeah, so it's great to have everyone here on the show. And as always, let me just talk a little bit about Amazing Live Show in case this is your first time watching. This is actually a personal project of mine that has evolved into what it is today. The idea was actually to have a show, a photography talk show, and a platform where I can do workshops on a virtual platform, running seminars and things like that, talks on photography. During the period where everyone's stuck at home, because, you know, COVID-19 pandemic is still very active out there, and most of us are unable to travel for whatever reasons, you know, for work or for leisure and things like that. And I think everyone's based at home, so it's good to just connect with one another and talk about photography. And I chose Twitch as my medium, so here we are. Okay, so anyway, that was a very simple introduction about Amazing Live Show. But here are my socials. I'm just gonna get Jarvis to type it up for me. There we go. Alright. So this is my personal website. This is yeah, A-MEZ-ING.com. So you guys want to take some time off, you know, just chill out and look at my works. Here's where you can go. Alright, you can read my blog. You can click on my live stream when I'm on. Alright, I'm live streaming only on Tuesdays and Saturdays now. Tuesdays on 8 p.m. and Saturdays at 5 p.m. I think you guys are aware of that as well. Anyway, just in case you guys forget, let me get Jarvis to type out the schedule as well. Okay, this is my Facebook page, so you guys can take a look at that. Alright, and this is actually what I always use as a medium to encourage you guys or let you guys know that I am on Twitch or if I have any upcoming episodes, this is where you can go to as well. But if you want something very timely, you can always go to my Twitter. All right, my Twitter profile, it's very active these days. I try to post at least once a day or 10 times a day, depending on what I have to talk about. Okay, and if you miss any of my Twitch episodes, you can always go to my YouTube channel. I do upload past episodes here as well, so you guys can take a look. And of course, this is my Instagram. Yay! All right, so I do post not much these days, to be honest. I just post like whatever's happening on the Amazing Live show. And right now I actually have got this amber particle set, which is on sale, so you guys can take a look. All right, so this is a re-release of the previous version. It looks nicer now. You can download it, just purchase it, and it's because my birthday month, you guys get to enjoy a 25% off store wide. All right, this is my Twitch channel, and this is, I'm just gonna click that so I don't have any Twitch section. Okay, so we do have quite a few things you guys can read up on your own over here. Right now we do have like a mini competition. Oh, my YouTube channel, it's there. It's right over here. Let me just link it up again for you. Here we go. All right, so yeah, I'm a member of SG Streamers right now, and of course, you guys can see over here there is Razor Tip Stream. So what is Razor Tip Stream? So basically, if you guys want to show support for the channel, you can always go show your support by Razor Tip Stream. So Razor Tip Stream is one of the ways that you can actually show support for the channel and get Razor Silver, which you can use to where did that page go? Hold on, let me get it again. Chrome is quite buggy these days. I don't know why, or is it maybe just my com? I don't know. So anyway, if not, you can always hit the follow and subscribe button, which is at the top right hand corner of your screen right now. And otherwise, you can actually go here to Razor Silver undergold.razor.com, and here is where you can click on redeem rewards. And by tipping me with Razor Shards, you can actually get all this wonderful gear. And I am not just talking about games. I'm also looking at things like keyboards, all right, chroma keyboards, mice headsets. All right, so Razor's been very awesome. If you guys show support for the channel through Razor Tip Stream, you can actually have all these wonderful goodies when you accumulate enough Razor Silver to redeem them. And of course, today's episode is brought to you by SmartMark. Okay, SmartMark is my choice of website building platform, and I have been hosting the A-MEZ-ING on the SmartMark platform for a while now. It's been I think 4 years. Okay, and they also have a very nice collaboration with Flickr now, and you can actually enjoy a very seamless website building experience through SmartMark. Okay, so right now I do have a very special thing to say. So SmartMark is actually kind enough to provide with us 1 year subscription plan on a giveaway. So that's gonna be something that's really awesome. The pro account actually saves you $360 if you manage to win it through this giveaway. So stay tuned until the end. This is your opportunity to actually win something from SmartMark. Okay. Whew. Wow, that's pretty much it for sponsorship. Okay, so on to the main event. Today we're gonna have Benjamin Von Wong on the show. Okay, this is his website. He is an artist focused on amplifying positive impact, and his mission is to help make positive impact unforgettable. And I think most of you guys who actually work with him, you probably know that he is someone whose work ethics is just phenomenal. All right, and the thing is, when you work with him, you know that he is always 200% into it. And those people who actually collaborated with him before, you guys know that whatever he works on, there has a very tight meaning to it. Everything that he does has got meaning. Everything that he does has got a story to tell. And I think it is one of those things that make him very different from others in terms of being a creative artist and all that. So Ben Von Wong's work lies at the intersection of fantasy and photography and combines everyday objects with shocking statistics. His works has attracted the attention of corporations like Starbucks, Dell, and Nike, and has generated over 100 million views for causes like ocean plastics, electronic waste, and fashion pollution. Most recently, he was named as one of Adweek's 11 content branded masterminds, and you can see some of his works here. It's just so different, it's so epic, and you know what's the best part? Everything is done in camera. It's not like one of those like, okay, just Photoshop everything, but this is really art. All right, it's more than just a photo. It's an art, it's an installation, it's an experience. If you go in there and you actually see for yourself how the shots are done, it's really something. It's a whole new experience altogether. Okay, all right, Archie, hi, wow, from Indonesia. Yep, nice to see you as well, buddy. Best 5 particles I feel. Oh yeah, thank you, Zig. You're one of those who actually purchased on the day of launch. Thank you so much. Okay, so Now let me show you a little trailer that Smart Minds put together that shows Ben Von Wong. I think this was 4 years ago, and I think this is something that a lot of you guys will probably get to enjoy because this is something way before. It's like a walk down memory lane. Alright, let's take a look.
Being creative has just become a way of life. I don't think it begins with a desire to wake up in the morning and say, today I'm creative. It just comes down to today I want to live, I want to do what I love, so I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna do that. My name is Benjamin Von Wong and I'm an artist. I like to think of my photography as something epic, something larger than life. It takes a vision and it exaggerates it so that you can't tell the difference between what's real and what's fake. I take a concept and I transform it into reality. I mean, I don't just take the pictures, I conceptualize, I design them, I create them, I build them up. It starts off with a base concept, it starts off with an idea, and it slowly builds up based on the constraints that you have available. It's all about finding solutions to make something that is seemingly impossible and making it to something that is better than reality. I think that people see photography as clicking a button, getting the lighting right, getting the composition right, but it's so much more than that. Being able to connect with people is so important, and it shows in the final results. If they understand the story that you're trying to tell, then suddenly they can translate that emotion, making the image that much more powerful. I think that photos can transport people into another universe, into another world, and it becomes, a story. And people try to figure it out. They want to understand what's going on, and that just makes it magical. I think that if you start doing the things that you love and you start sharing the things that you love, then sooner or later people start hiring you to do the things that you love. For your passion, for your vision, for what makes you unique. And because you're the only person that can do whatever that thing is, because you love it so much. My name is Benjamin Von Wong and I am a creative.
Hi Ben. Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going? Oh man, caught you.
My turn.
Were you watching the stream as well on your end?
I was trying to figure out what my Twitch password is, and turns out I can't remember it. So I was not able to log in and be very meta on the whole thing.
Oh man, it's okay. I'll send you a link so you can watch the whole thing again soon.
Oh good.
Okay, so we got a lot of people tuning in right now. I think most of your fans are back online. It's so good to catch up with everyone. I think we got friends from Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia. I think someone said Batam. Batam is somewhere in between Singapore and Indonesia. It's a small island that a lot of Singaporeans like to go to as well. We have Vincent Vandenberg from Netherlands as well. So we got a whole wide world joining us this evening. That's fantastic. Shakif, hi, 5-1. We got a lot of people watching right now. I think it's really awesome. Furry Photo says hello, 5-1. A lot of people are saying hellos right now. It's like, ooh, a lot of activity on the chat box right now. Right.
Amazing.
So Ben, it's been like almost 1.5 years since you stepped in Singapore. Really awesome to catch up with you again. It's been a while. Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, no one's traveling anywhere right now, so I'm back at home in the house that I went to university in. So it's like a time box.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I gotta show you something. This is something that you actually gave me on the first Wong workshop in Singapore, I think in 2013. Check this out, man. Still here.
Yo, what's up?
I still have it, man. It's a bit dusty now.
Like
it's a
a
bit gray.
legacy logo.
Yeah, legacy
New
logo. Yeah, man.
Old logo.
This is the old one right here. So it's really awesome. And for those of you guys wondering what this is, it's actually a Von Wong wristband. And you flip it, there's actually a wonderful phrase that I still hold on to dearly today. Wait, let me just readjust it. There we go. Dream the impossible. Okay, so just a little bit of backstory, and I know I didn't share with this with Ben himself, and so this is like a surprise for him. Ben, you're the reason why I am here, and you and Rain Robin, you guys are the ones that really pushed me into this direction and made me become the photographer that I am today, and it's all because of you.
So sorry.
No, it's a good thing because you really inspired me to take on the path that I've chosen, and there's no regrets at all so far. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Perfect.
So anyway,
to hear.
Maybe just a quick recap to some of the audiences who may have joined us this evening but are not familiar with you. Could you just maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself? Like, who is Benjamin Von Wong?
Wow. I mean, how long do you want me to talk about this for?
Anytime.
I started off my life as a hard rock mining engineer, and in 2012 decided that I was going to quit engineering. Started traveling the world, realized I could travel for free using photography, and grew my following from there. Figured out how to go viral a number of different ways. Eventually, around 2015, realized that I wanted to that just being commercially successful wasn't actually enough, and that's when things got a little bit more interesting, where I started to focus on the impact stuff. And so that's been about like 4 years, and now I don't know who I am, because I I can't do the work that I want to do, similar to you and a lot of people in lockdown.
Yeah.
So it's actually a really exciting point in time to figure out, who I want to become. I think it's an opportunity to slow down and start planning out, like, oh, what would the 10-year plan look like?
Yep, that's good. And how do you come to become Von Wong? I remember there's a story behind the name, the moniker Von Wong.
Yeah. Actually, I was planning on quitting. I was planning on buying a website. I mean, that's like the first thing that you do when you become, I guess, a freelancer. And when I started searching online, like what were the other Benjamin Wongs in the area, it turns out that there was a photographer called Benjamin Wong that lived 6 hours away who was doing weddings. And I was like, oh man, that's not okay. I need to come up with something a little bit more unique, because at the time I was just getting started, right? So I didn't have a following. And so I just started thinking, I'm like, okay, well, what could possibly work? And Von Wong kind of came up as one of the options. Von means from in German, and so from the family of Wong, and it just sounded kind of catchy and cool. Well, actually, in the beginning, I was sort of 50-50 on it, and I kind of asked friends, I kind of asked the couple followers that I did have, and people were like, yeah, it sounds kind of weird. And so I had it, I think, on my Flickr profile as soon to be Von Wong for like 9 months before I finally decided to switch it over. So that's the story behind Von Wong. It took a little while, but now it's stuck. And now sometimes when my parents come to these projects or so forth, people will be like Mr. and Mrs. Vaughn, or it's kind of funny.
And I like the fact that your parents are very much involved in your work. And I think I had an opportunity to meet up with them when we were in Singapore. We did a shoot in Sentosa, I think. Your dad was there, so your mom was there as well. And I recall your mom walking up to me and saying things like, I hope Ben hasn't gotten you into trouble with all this fire.
Yeah, that sounds like my parents. They're really funny. They're like the combination of like really, really supportive and just like waiting for me to grow up at the same time. And so there's like, it's like a dual thing. Like they'll let me do whatever they want, but at the same time they'll be worrying constantly.
Yeah.
So basically they're just being parents. But whenever they have the chance, they'll drop into projects. They'll help on projects. They've been a part of a number of projects, or they've inspired projects. So it's definitely a really cool thing.
Yeah, awesome. And right now, I think the most latest work that you've released online actually involves your entire family, and that's something that we're going to talk about later. So that's really, really awesome. So
I was totally inspired by my mom.
I remember that story, but we're going to share with the rest of the audience later today. And I think it's something that's inspirational, because some of us are still stuck at home. It's a project that some of you guys can actually try to do on your own as well. When you first started out photography, of course, the big question is, what was your focus of genre to shoot?
Yeah, I don't think you really know what your style is when you first begin. You chase your curiosity, right? And I think maybe one of the things people might do for a little bit too long is they might just continuously chase their curiosity without actually eliminating options that they don't like.
Yep.
And I think, in the beginning, when you start photography, you have so many different directions to go, just like with every hobby. And as you kind of go through and you test different things out, I think it's sort of important to revisit and eliminate the parts that you don't like, so that you stop doing them over and over again.
Yep.
And I think when you start confusing photography, the art, and photography, the business, those kind of create conflicting interests. And sometimes you end up chasing money instead of chasing what you actually like to do. So in my case, I had one of those moments where I had built up an event business, And initially it was a really great thing, because when I got paid for the first time, I was like, what? I can get paid to have fun? Usually it's the other way around. And that was like a really wonderful first experience. And then that gave me the excuse to buy more gear, and then I'd use the money that I earned from the events to pay more gear. And so for a while, it was a very healthy cycle.
Yep.
But at some point, it became sort of operationalized, right? It stopped being interesting. I was getting the same kinds of clients. I wasn't getting new experiences, and it was just about churning out the work and customer service and all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I came to this realization, like, oh, I have two jobs. I have like engineering, and I still have photography, and I was doing both at the same time. And so I think this, just being able to revisit and honestly ask yourself, like, wait, is this actually what I want to do? Is photography meant to be a job, or is it meant to be a hobby? Like, which one is it actually, and which one do I want to focus on? Like, these are kind of the important questions to consistently check in with yourself on.
Yep. And I think it's very important that you actually talk about this, because right now there are some people watching right now, and I know for a fact that, having interacted with them for the past few episodes, they are actually at the crossroads of figuring out what they want to do with life. Not just whether or not they want to be a photographer, or they want to sit behind a desk and do something 9 to 5. I think the pandemic has made us sit at home and rethink a lot of things that are going on with our lives. I think Furry Photos actually said, so true, sometimes you need to stop and reflect, and I completely agree with him, and I think it resonates with what you said just now. It's a very
absolutely.
It's a very interesting thing, because when we first picked up the camera, I'm not sure about yourself, but a lot of us actually feel this way, like, look at that, we are going to create images, and we're going to go out there and go get big and famous and shoot a lot of wonderful stuff and bring back $10,000 or something per project. But sometimes events like this unprecedented, I hate the word unprecedented, event like the pandemic, force us into a corner and make us rethink, is this really something that we want to do? Because suddenly when it's taken away from us, what's left, right? Yeah. Yep. So your tagline is a viral epic photographer, visual engineer, and storyteller. Does it have anything to do with the fact that you have an engineering background in the first place? And maybe you could just tell us a little bit more about the choice of words that you use to describe yourself.
Yeah, I always struggle to, put myself in a box. Everyone wants to describe you, and they want to put you in a box. You're either a photographer, or you're a filmmaker, or you're a cinematographer, or you're, like, I feel like what I do is so layered. I do a little bit of everything. There's like a combination of, like production, and there's a combination of conservation, but then I'm also a blogger, but I'm also an influencer, but I'm also an architect of visuals, right? Like I designed this entire visual experience. I'm a creative director.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, how do you like put all of these into like a single tagline? And I think for me, the specific tagline of viral epic photographer, visual engineer, and storyteller probably needs to be updated, because it I guess when I did that was probably in like 2016, and I just never bothered updating it from there. It was just to put myself in a box that someone that I thought would hire me might be intrigued by. The visual engineer thing felt kind of accurate, because what I'm doing is like I'm thinking about all the ways you're going to engineer this visual, like, because most of the time I like to do things that haven't been done before, something that I've never done before, and so there's this entire like architecting component of it.
Yep.
That I thought was relevant, and it tied into my engineering background. And on top of that, before I got my visa and I was going into the United States, I would just put visual engineer on my visa, which sounds a lot less sketchy than photographer when you travel.
Yep.
So little things like that.
You're right. So
Yeah.
does that mean that the TSA spend less time with you in the queue lines because of the word visual engineer as opposed to photographer, where they will probably scrutinize you even more?
Well, when you say you're a photographer, then the next question is, are you traveling with your equipment? Are you planning on working? If you say visual engineer, like, no one knows what you're supposed to be traveling with. So I think it just kicks them out of like autopilot mode,
Yeah.
which often, if you're a photographer, can get you in trouble, because now, even if you're not going there for work, you're still going to always carry a camera with you. But then now you have to explain to them why you have $10,000 of camera equipment in your backpack when you're just going for fun. Like, who are you and why can you do that? It's like, no, but that's how it works.
Yeah, it's tougher to have a presentation on the spot when you're in a queue as well. So,
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
Yeah. So, how do you use social media to market yourself, or work, or reach out to further your causes? And is there any way that you probably fall back to traditional means, like, meet up with people one-on-one, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed a lot over time. So, one of the reasons why it's so hard to consistently show up on social media is that it's impossible to become an expert at it unless you are consistently tearing down the things that you've learned and readapting over and over again.
Yep.
And it's because like the environment under which, so in order to become an expert at anything, the environment can't change. Like you can't be an expert at physics if the laws of physics are constantly shifting under your feet at any moment's notice. And so in a similar, under a similar, line, when you post things online and you want to go viral and you want to get seen, well, that's contingent on a whole bunch of algorithms, on a whole bunch of new platforms that are constantly changing. So over the last decade, we've seen so much change in environments that have been created. And so in the past, like, Facebook was amazing when I was just posting static photos. I could post once a week and that was fine, or once a day was good, but not necessary. Instagram sort of, picked up from there, and then YouTube was a once a week, like weekly vlogs were maybe the most common form of thing. Like daily stories wasn't a thing, and I just think like that whole idea that these networks are constantly shifting and all we do is chase algorithms in order to get views and get seen is such a broken framework.
Yep.
But I guess to answer the question, the way you get seen is to pay attention to trends and to be wary of the platforms and what their limitations are. Mm-hmm. And so there was a point in time where Facebook was really pushing hard on video. And so that was the time to get into Facebook video. And if you missed that boat and you wanted to get into it now that you're ready for it, like now is not the time to get into Facebook video. It's so much harder to get seen. YouTube, it's like, if you have something that's topically relevant right now, if you have good SEO, if you've been nurturing like a loyal following of subscribers by just putting out similar content every single day, mm-hmm. and you're building that up, like that's how you create a sense of a loyal following. But if you haven't done that work, then now YouTube is a pretty hard platform also, right? Like, and I just feel like it really depends on what's going on in the world. So TikTok right now is probably the best platform to go on if you want to go spontaneously viral and you want to gamify that system. Mm-hmm. There's a simple strategy, as simple of a strategy on TikTok when you first start an account, to just keep deleting the video and reposting the same video over and over again until it gets picked up.
Oh,
assuming the content is good and it can work. So it's like, it's just a really interesting world that we live in. And I think it's important to remember that the algorithms at the end of the day are just one part of the equation. The algorithms don't really pay you. It's the companies that pay you. So how are you going to deliver value to them? And ideally it's value, not views.
Yep.
It's a far more solid metric.
And because of the pandemic, I think a lot of people are exploring all forms of avenues to be seen and heard. But like I said, it's quite challenging because algorithms change and they always change without us noticing. I think that's quite the problem here. But
or you can pay attention to it, but it doesn't even matter. The funny thing is, right, ultimately the creatives just want to create. They don't want to have to constantly rethink these algorithms. If you spend your time full-time tracking algorithms, then you're not really creating. So I think that's sort of the loss, is that social media, for all the things that it's empowered, has also prevented a lot of people from actually pursuing pursuing their craft.
Yep.
And I look at the world today and how tough it is to be seen on social media, and I just kind of wonder what I would have done. 'Cause I look at it right now and I just find it really exhausting. But maybe I'm just old. That's entirely possible too. I'm getting kind of old.
Oh man, we all are still young at heart though.
Yeah.
But let's say if one day perhaps social media just stops working, what will you do then to continue pushing your cause?
I mean, that's sort of what's going on right now, right?
Yep.
I have a following that is no longer, that doesn't, they only care about the art that I do, but the art that I do is something that's really big and epic.
Mm-hmm.
And so what am I supposed to do right now if I can't do my work and my art and I can't entertain people? And so I started a podcast. Mm-hmm. I started a podcast because I enjoy the process of talking to people who are doing impactful work that I can learn from and grow from. And so I think what I'm doing right now is I'm just accumulating knowledge. I'm going back to that state of curiosity and growth, because the only way to get paid to do something is if you get really good at it.
Yep.
And so now is the perfect time to just reflect back and be actually, what do I really love? What do I really want to get better at? And use that as a new launch pad. And for those who need to juggle money with it, then if you need to earn money, then look at where the money is.
Yep.
Don't look at where your heart is, right? Follow your heart on one end and then follow your money on the other hand. Like, you don't have to put these two things together, because that can often like cause a lot more grief.
Yep.
And so right now I'm also doing the same thing. I'm trying to think about like, well, if what I love right now is my podcast, but my podcast is like 250 listeners or something. It's really, really small, and my followers aren't really shifting over, and I don't really care because I'm doing it because I enjoy it and I love it and I'm learning from it.
That's good.
But then the question is like, well, how do I earn money? So now I'm thinking of like, well, who needs the power of narratives and stories? Where do stories never get the chance to see the light of day? And how do those worlds tie in with the impact world? Because I still want my work to be impactful. And so I've been like exploring like conversations with fund managers, with deep tech startups who need help with their pitch decks, and figuring out like how might I create the case studies in order to create the value there. But like, it's a very, very separate track from my creative explorations.
Yep.
And I think it's important to always like think outside the box, right?
Yep. Very true. Very true. And now the big question is, because you did mention that you traveled quite a fair bit in the past before the pandemic struck, of course, and you have like a lot of equipment in your bag. I'm sure a lot of people have asked you this before, and I myself am feeling very curious right now. So what's in your bag, and what's on your computer?
What's in my bag? Well, it's funny because what's in my bag is what I have with me now, because I was nomadic this year.
Yep.
And the only thing I have is what I traveled with and whatever I have at home. So what I have is this camera right here, which is a Sony A7R II. I have some magnetic buckyballs. I always have like a couple of tricks up my sleeve. I had a little smoke machine, but I burnt it. But yeah, I'm using a Sony A7R II with a 16-35 f4 that's scratched. I have a couple lenses, always just in case, a 51.8, a 90 macro, just because those are kind of one super shallow depth of field, one macro lens. That's it, really. I have a teleprompter because just if you want to record something and speak to it, super helpful to have a teleprompter. I also have a couple Godox AD200s because they're light and small. So my broncolors are sitting somewhere in San Francisco right now.
Oh, man.
Completely untouched. What else do I have that's interesting? Oh, I have an Insta360X. I have an Insta360 Go. The Insta360 Go, for people who don't know what it is actually a really, really fun camera. Mez, you should get them on your show. They probably sponsor you. This is actually the camera that I used for... Oh, focus.
Come on. There we go.
It's this tiny little camera that I use for
awesome.
my for the maternity photo shoot video, because I can just clip it onto a magnet and I can wear it. So I just think, there's a right tool for the job. And sometimes it's not the big guns that counts, it's the little guns.
That's true.
So I have a lot of like little knickknacks and toys, because I think ultimately it's about like these are the tools that can get me like the weird shots or the shots that I need. And I've been a lot less concerned about quality lately, except for like the final images that I create. I think so much of it, like, when we talk about authenticity, it's all about relatability. So like, what are you going to actually create that makes people feel like they could do it too? And I think being able to impart that sense of co-ownership, or the sense that you're going to sell possibility of creativity to others, is something that's really, really cool. It's something that people buy into.
That's true. And do you still have your unicorn plushie or something? Because I remember that whenever you travel, you always have a stuffed toy.
Yeah.
Somewhere around.
I think my unicorn got left at home this time.
Oh man, so sad.
I've grown up.
It's in San Francisco, I suppose.
It's in San Francisco, yeah.
Okay. And what about your laptop? Because some people always ask, what software do you use? What programs do you use to do all your wonderful images? Pretty sure Photoshop's on it.
I was using an old MacBook Pro, and then it was just getting really slow, and so Dell sent me a Precision, I forgot, 5520 or 5540. So I have a 15-inch Dell Precision laptop that is running on Windows, and I've actually been like very, very slowly moving away from Apple, just because over time I've just found that the technology has just gotten a lot less interesting. I also switched from iPhone to Android a couple years ago, because I really like the stylus on the Note and they came out with the wide camera before. So just, I don't know, I've started just divesting away from Apple over time. But in terms of creative softwares, I use the standard creative suite, Adobe, Lightroom, Photoshop.
Yep.
I also have Capture One, which I think is just a superior editing platform in so many ways.
I did not pay Ben to say that, by the way.
No, it's faster. It's got more tools. It's better. What I don't like about it is its catalog management system. So I'll use Lightroom for most of my work anyways, simply because sometimes it's okay just to use something slower and mediocre. Because it's more integrated. Like I use Lightroom, I use Photoshop, I use Premiere, I use Audition.
Yep.
These are all like in one bundle, and they're just like, they're interconnected. They work really well together. So
That's true.
Sometimes it's not about having the ultimate quality, but if I'm going to be tethering or anything like that, you have to use Capture One. There's no other way.
Ben, you're kind of soft suddenly. Your mic. Did you
My mic is soft?
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Much better now. Okay.
Didn't change anything.
Oh, that's strange. Okay, so quick question: what is the most difficult or toughest photo shoot so far, by far?
See, this is a question that I get very often, but there's never a good answer for it. Like, is it harder to hang someone off a building, or is it harder to tie someone underwater with sharks, or is it harder to, clean 10,000 plastic bottles? Like, they're all kind of hard in really, really different ways.
Yep.
And so, I think if there's one thing, like, I enjoy the challenge of trying to figure out how to do something that I've never done before. I think it's hardest to be in a situation when a project actually isn't working. It's fine. It doesn't really matter how hard something is when you can actually see the progress of it.
Yep.
But when you are hard at work doing something that just isn't working, no matter how hard you try, I think that's probably the most frustrating situation. And I've had a couple of different projects that like have not launched. You're midway into this project and you're just like, oh, this is not going to work. This is like a total waste of time and effort and energy, and I've just brought all these people together in order to do it. Like, I'm going to disappoint all these people. And I think those are the moments that are the hardest. And sometimes I've pulled it back from the brink of destruction, like some lucky shift has just kind of helped solve it, and sometimes not. So there's one project that I did that just never got launched. I think I would have launched it if the cause had come up, but we tied a model underwater. We found an underwater excavator in Poland, and the water was like 13 degrees Celsius, so it was really, really cold. And our freediver, it was super murky, and so the minute you kicked anything up, like the silt would fly off the ground, and you wouldn't be able to see anything. So it was a super delicate environment. It was really tough. The model actually couldn't hold her breath for very long. She could only hold her breath for like 8 or 10 seconds. And that's just really not enough time for like people to get out of the way for you to take the photograph. And it was cold, and it was dark, and it was gloomy, and it was like all these people had come in, and there was all this tech, and there's all this crap that went into it, and it just wasn't working out. And ultimately it was just like, well, that sucks. So the photos really didn't come out that great from proportional to the amount of effort that went in, and then I guess maybe even worse than that was the fact that we never launched the series because the cause that we were raising awareness for actually won. So that series wasn't necessary, which is kind of funny. They were dredging up the entire Great Barrier Reef in order to clear up some pathways for these big mining ships to go through. And so before we launched the project, the whole thing, the whole campaign won, so the images were never necessary. So
it's a good thing it had this in the end.
Yeah. I mean, the project wasn't the best. I don't think it would have been that successful anyways, but it's still like a really bad feeling to like have people do all this work and not have it go anywhere.
Yep.
I think that's the hard part.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the questions in the chat box. I see the chat box is really very active this evening. People are saying that you should call yourself Ninja Impact Engineer Photographer with a Unicron in front. Someone said at least you use modern social media. You didn't talk about LiveJournal or Friendster. I think those are, ages ago. I don't remember those either.
LiveJournal?
LiveJournal, yeah.
I've never used LiveJournal.
Neither have I. I always thought that it's a place where you put funny stuff on it and that's all. Noz oh god, how do you pronounce your name? GNOH-ZWD. I'm sorry, I'll just spell it out. Curious to know what's Ben's mental processes like when he plans for a shoot, how he plans for success, and whether he had any backup plans to fall back on if things took a different turn, especially the first few shoots he had, like the medieval ones he had earlier in his career. Yeah, I think it's asking about your thought process in the earlier years when you first started out photography with doing all those medieval shots.
Yeah. So I'm trying to like run through my head like what are the consistent things that have remained over the last decade. And I think that I always go into the projects with like a plan of like what I know I can capture. So there's like a certain part, and then there's like what I want to capture, which is like somewhere over here. And so the whole shoot, I'm trying to go from here to here, and I'm trying to close that gap. The thing with photography is that like once you attain a minimum level of skill, like no one can ever take away your ability to have a decent composition. No one can take away your ability to have decent lighting. And so like no matter what, you can still take decent photos, assuming that you're decent at, all the different pieces of it. So in my case, like I was decent at lighting, I was decent at composition, I was really good at communication and getting people to try dumb things. And then I knew that no matter what, I could like take it all into like post-production and I could still fix things there. So like even as I was shooting, I'd be thinking about like, oh man, I just can't figure out the sky, but I can edit the sky later. So it's always like thinking about like what is the minimum viable product of what you want to do, and how are you going to get there as quickly as possible so that you have like a lot of time to figure out how to like upgrade it. I think that approach is a little different when it comes to art installations, because art installations are sort of, it either works or it doesn't work. Like you can't post light something, you can't post produce anything, so you like you have to almost like get it right on the spot. And so there's a lot of like all the pressure is a lot higher on the earlier phases. But I think my thought process is generally it's the same. It's like, what am I confident that we can do, and now how can we take that and like start adding layers and tweaks to it to make it even better. Because ultimately, like people pay you to be able to like come to a final result that is usually decent. I think one of the nice things that I have is that my bar of what I like is a lot higher than what other people expect. And so generally speaking, even if I'm unhappy, like my clients are happy, or if I'm unhappy, like the people that I'm shooting are happy. And it's good to have that sort of distance, because then, for the most part, the only person I'm disappointing is myself. When that equation is flipped around, then it becomes a problem, because then you're satisfied, but everyone else is disappointed. Like
that's bad. that will only work if it's a personal project, I suppose, not something where people.
Well, even in a personal project, like you never want to disappoint people, because then they don't want to work with you anymore.
That's true.
So it's just like it's just never a good place to be. Whereas you're gonna still work with yourself because you have a choice.
and I like that philosophy. Basically setting the distance between what you are happy with and what people are happy with. And I think this is something that a lot of creatives out there would have to keep in mind, so that you do not fall and crash to the point where you can never return. I think a lot of people, when they face experience failures, they either give up completely, or they just like, okay, that's it, future projects are not going to be worth doing anymore.
Well, something about failure that's interesting to remember is that projects are neither successes nor failures. Projects are made of a series of successes and a series of failures. A project can be a successful photograph, but it can be a failed marketing campaign. It can be a successful photograph and totally like insult the person you're trying to shoot. And in that case, you've like taken away someone's dignity in exchange to have a great photo. Like, is that a success or is that a failure? Right? And what are you gonna learn from it? And so being able to like understand that success and failure is a binary notion, but it actually can be parsed out into many different pieces. Maybe the more interesting thing to think about after you do a project is like, which part of this project was successful? Oh, my lighting was successful. My communication with the model was really good, but I still couldn't figure out how to take the photo. Like, why was that? Like, which part of this was a failure? And that gives you a sense of like, well, okay, well, these are the things that I don't really need to improve on. I'm just gonna put them aside. But this is the actual problem that I need to focus down on. You know, could that have been improved in pre-production? Could that have been improved in post-production? And that just suddenly gives you like the power to change the situation in the future. And I think always holding on to your power is really important, because, you know, in life, things are going to happen. And the question is, what can you do about it? And what are you going to do about it? And we figure those out by being able to parse out which parts of a project is a success and which parts of a project are a failure.
True. Very good answer. And I think relevant to what we were talking about, Slower Curse 92 asks, what do you do when you're having a creative rut, or when do you start to feel photography feels like an autonomous process?
So photography got boring for me a long time ago, which is why I started doing a lot of these bigger impact projects, because photography, the process is, to me, got repetitive, right? Find a cool model, find a cool location, do a cool concept, take a cool picture, repeat, you know, do it over and over again. And I just couldn't quite figure out like where this was all going to go. Like, do you just go and do something bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger for the sake of bigger? Yep. So I think that there's like kind of two questions in there. I think if we talk about the creative rut part first, it's normal to have ups and downs. I think, you know, like everyone has ups and downs. You cannot have a big win without a big loss to like for you to feel the difference between the two. Like, so we need those ups and downs. And so with that in mind, when you're in a down, you can choose to be miserable that you're in a down, like add to the misery and be like, oh, I'm so down now. Like, oh, why am I so down? This is such a pain. Or you can just be down and just be like, I'm really down right now. I'm just gonna sleep more today. That's what I'm gonna do. Right? Like you choose how to go through the different periods. So you actually you might not be able to control how you feel, but you can control like how you react to it. So if you are in a down period, I think what's really helpful is to just like appreciate that you're in a down period, like saying like, oh, good, now is a time where I'm down so that I can be happier later. So how am I going to set myself up for that? Like, you know, I haven't been resting very well. I'm going to try to sleep more, or, you know, I'm just going to go hang out with people that are going to make me feel better during this time because I don't really have creative energy right now. And this idea that you can actually leverage the downtime, knowing that it's going to happen anyways, I think is really important. And then with regards to like creativity, like if the medium is not interesting anymore, then it's up to you to like add different components. Like what would make the photography experience more interesting? So in my case, I got bored of photography when I was doing like epic locations. Even though I was having a lot of fun doing it, it just felt very repetitive. That's when I started creating my own sets. And then when I started creating my own sets and realizing that I was tearing them down the day after I was building them, so I'd spend a week building a thing and then we tear it down the next day after the shoot, and it was like, oh, well, this is a waste. Can I figure out how to go from like creating temporary art installations to semi-permanent art installations? And so like I'm trying to add layers to this process so that it stays interesting for me, because ultimately at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to produce any better work further down the line. Like the most important piece of the puzzle in the entire thing is like your own self-motivation. And so like, I feel like in my case, like I'm definitely my own worst enemy. And then like very regularly, like I generally, you know, if only I kept at it, I would have probably be more commercially successful, but I chose not to, right? So I'm the kind of person that's always pursued my heart or my interest first, and then money second, at my own detriment. But that's a choice that I've made, and I'm fine with it. So it's just important to figure out like what those trade-offs are and what you're willing to pick or not pick. Yep. But you have that power. I guess it all boils down to the fact that like you have the choice. It's like it's up to you to take control of the situation and do what you can with it.
Yep, agreed. And I've been following your works for some time now and noticed that you have had a change in direction in terms of creative narratives. And I think this is very evident, especially with what you've been doing for the past 4 years. In 2013, I attended your photography workshop and saw firsthand what you used to shoot, you know, beauty projects, fashion projects, and all that. And then last year, I was there at Plasticophobia in Singapore. And this was when you actually had an installation, but it has a very a very different narrative as opposed to what you used to shoot. You know, it doesn't feel very commercial. It feels more like this is more for society's good, and it's just so different, like a black and white kind of thing. And I noticed that over time, like you said, you know, because maybe it's a repetition, you have deviated from photography and now going more into installation art. So let's take a look at something that you shot a long time ago. This is like kind of like revisiting memory lane. This was something that you actually did with SmartMark employees back then. I think this was about 3 years ago, I think. Stand by.
And slowly push up. Good. Hey guys, this is Benjamin Von Wong, and today we're at SmugMug doing an epic gym shoot. What? Beautiful. Keep rotating your Stephanie. Rotate more. Rotate more. Good. Good. Yeah. Amazing. So SmugMug just commissioned me to do a series of portraits to fill up their gym. They're going to be printing these large athletic portraits of their employees, showing off their guns. But simple photo shoots in a black studio is not really my thing. So we've built this beautiful rain machine over here, as you can see in the back, of PVC pipes and garden sprinklers. Are you tired? Are you okay? Yeah, fine. Then push harder! Hey! Hey! Scream louder! Yes!
When people saw the photos, it was a lot of shock and awe. People didn't realize that that's what they looked like. You look at them and you go, how did he even capture that image? I didn't even think I looked like that.
Yeah, Tony, your ass is looking really tight. It's like, you got these like butt-hugging pants on there. What? It's just wrapping around the skirt.
I'm a 62-year-old grandma. Ben is used to shooting beautiful young models. And still, somehow, he manages to make me look great.
I was hoping going into this that we were gonna come out with something other than just, you know, ripped people on the cover of a magazine, and boy, did we way exceed that.
Whoa!
They look super badass.
Have you guys ever looked cool?
And this is the result.
Oh man, that was so long ago. So
It used to be so simple.
and now you shoot something that's completely different. Could you just share a little bit more about your works? Maybe you can just share some of them on screen with the rest of the audience, like what you shoot now.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry, I misunderstood that. I actually was sharing. All right, I am gonna share. Give me a second.
Yep.
I was gonna share photos of the gym shoot.
Oh.
Oh, I can't share. I've been disabled.
Oh, let me just fix that for you. I think it's just zoom, beam, zoom. That's all. There we go.
All right, awesome. So now my work actually is. I'm gonna share this website instead. So I created two websites. I created a SmugMug website as well as kind of just a separate landing page that was a lot slower. It loads a lot slower, but it's designed for it's more designed for a company, right?
Yep.
And so I'm trying to focus first and foremost on the value that I'm bringing, and so I talk about upfront and center the fact that I'm raising awareness for causes with big companies, big brands, including the government of Canada.
Oh. Awesome.
I only show one image at a time, along with like a video, a couple like critical stats, so like 2 million views, a Guinness World Record, visited by 100,000 people, with a couple like small photographs. So it's like a significantly different approach to presentation than you would as like an artist portfolio, because ultimately it's less about the photograph that was taken, but about what it accomplished and what it was able to convey and communicate with different people.
Yep.
So I've done different projects from like, this is tying social entrepreneurs on the edge of skyscrapers with Nike. So yes, we're promoting their shoes, but we also wanted to highlight people who are doing good work in the world and celebrate what they're doing. And so I kind of just talk about all these different causes and different projects and different collaborations in hopes of getting more of this kind of work, because ultimately people don't hire you to do something that you've never done before. They only hire like what you've seen. And so I've tried to like portray a number of different things. Like this one, this shoot isn't even on my SmugMug website because it just doesn't fit. But this was an art installation that we built for an event called the world's tallest closet. And it was like a 10-meter tall closet that held one lifetime of clothing. Like this is how many pieces of clothing a single person would use over the course of their lifetime. But we forget about it because, usually when we don't want some clothes, we recycle them, we throw them away, we buy new ones, and we just constantly cycle through it. But if we just kept all of it, it represents a huge amount of stuff. So yeah, so it's just kind of this idea of showing the different styles of work from tying models underwater and ship with sharks swimming around, and the amount of impact that it's had, like 80,000 petition signatures that were generated,
Amazing.
how many views it got, so on and so forth. So really focus on the stats and what it's done, because I think that's what makes my work a little bit more unique. So yeah, so this is kind of what I do right now, and if you contrast that with my story. Oh, give me a second. My dad needs a mouse.
Oh, sure.
There, right there next to the laptop, the computer on the floor. There should be a mouse. Yep. This is what happens when you live with your family.
Yeah, it's okay. It's good.
And yeah, and then so this is kind of the way my Smug Mug photography website is designed. You see the journey of like my photography of you know, the photos, the behind the scenes, the photos behind the scenes, because it's so much more about the art and less about the actual impact that it's done. So it's just a different style of presentation, and I think it just shows like how your work can be presented in different ways depending on how you choose to market it. And that makes a big difference.
And I like the fact that you actually have behind the scenes attached to, because I did read up on some of the comments, like for example on Petapixel, people are going like, oh, why do you have to hang a person outside the building? You can just Photoshop him in there and that kind of thing. But why would you insist on getting it done?
I think the truth is if you don't if you don't show people the behind the scenes, it wouldn't be on Petapixel in the first place.
True.
Because people do really, really great Photoshop work. You know, I was given a piece of advice a while back by Chase Jarvis, and it was that you need to find out what the one thing you can do better than anyone else in the world is. And in my case, I'm not the best Photoshopper. I'm not the best photographer, actually. I'm not the best at lighting. I'm not the best at anything else. But what I'm really, really good at is creating improbable situations for a cause. Well, now it's for a cause. And so this idea that I make really weird things happen just for the sake of making really weird things happen is where I kind of landed on my unique gift / superpower / whatever you want to call it. So I just kind of doubled down on that, and it was always like, okay, well, now I can do crazy. Can I do crazier? Just kind of keep going from there.
Yep. And I suppose these are the kind of thing that helps you shape your current works, your previous shooting style, your techniques, the thing you put your elements in the shot through. I mean, like for example, hanging a person off a wheelchair off a cliff. I mean, wow, that's crazy and insane. Or tying a model down to a reef surrounded by sharks, you know. And I guess this reality where you actually show the behind the scenes and all that, it just shows people that this is legit. This is more than just Photoshop, but you are there. You are actually putting yourself through risks and willing to push it for the cause that you're promoting. And I think that's something that's very admirable. Yeah. And I think right now we do have someone very familiar just joining the chat. He just said, "Sup guys." Hey Ben, it's Eugene Go from Brown Color Singapore.
Yay, Eugene.
Yep, he just logged in. I think he just came in from a meeting. Hey Eugene, good to see you as well on the channel. Thank you so much. Let's see some of the comments. Wu-Tang Clan 84 asks, which was your worst photo shoot that you would time travel back with your current experiences to fix or improve on?
I mean that's almost like saying like what's like one thing you would change about yourself. And I think like we are where we are as a result of our successes as well as our failures, right?
Yep.
Like the byproduct of like we learn so much from our failures, and I kind of like alluded to this in the past. And so I don't know if it's necessary to go in and fix anything. Maybe like a small technical thing, like this photo shoot that I did in Bali, the Bali shipwreck.
Yep.
I think would have been really interesting if I had taken the opportunity to use a better camera. So with this project so we went underwater in the shipwreck, and this is Siva, actually. It's one of our mutual friends with A-MEZ. But we were tying models underwater, and this is the first time that I had done this like photo shoot that went mega viral.
Yep.
And you know, I wanted to use a cheap camera because I wanted to prove that it was possible to do great photos with very little.
Mm-hmm.
And the cheapest camera that I could find that could go underwater was this like Nikon Coolpix or whatever that could.
I think you mentioned it was a
waterproof. but I drowned it. So ultimately that that camera didn't work. And so I ended up having the choice between using, like, there was another photographer that was there called Mike Veach, and he had two cameras for me to use. He had a Nikon D90 and a Canon 5D Mark II. And the 5D Mark II would shoot 24 megapixels. The Nikon D90 was 12 megapixels, slightly better dynamic range. And I was just like, let's just use the cheaper of the two. Like, why bother using the more expensive one? Because, ultimately the cheaper one will be more relatable. Turns out no one cared about the camera, which camera was used. I think, but what I did end up with was a slightly lower resolution image. So I kind of wish that I had a higher resolution camera, because now, like, this, as one of the best photographs, or one of the most popular photographs of my earlier career that I ever taken, is now in, like, mediocre resolution, because I wanted to use something cheaper. But it is what it is.
Just give me a sec. I recall something I want to show you, and I can't seem to find it around my table. Just give me one moment. Just one.
Oh, he's gone. He's escaped the interview. That's exciting.
I found it.
Oh.
Yeah, you're not gonna believe this, but I was on a flight for one of my work trips, and right there in the catalog department for the magazine, it's your work.
Hey, so you stole it?
Come on.
You borrowed it.
It's a very long-term
return it
borrowing.
one day. Yeah, long-term loan.
This was Silk Winds from May 2015. I mean, check it out, man. The date is it's still there. Yeah. So when I first saw it, I was like, that thing that's picking out. I just saw this part, and I was like, that is very familiar. And I was like, hey, wait, I gotta bring this back. And then I just, like, rolled it under my jacket, and that's how I got it.
No, I think you can keep those magazines. I think they're. If you want to keep those flight magazines, you're supposed to keep them.
Nah, I'm pretty sure there was an announcement that says that I'm supposed to put it back.
Oh wow.
But it's okay. I'm sure all is forgiven. Yeah, so that was something that's memorable, and I recall that when we were in Sentosa, you actually showed us some of the behind-the-scenes shots, and you were saying that you just finished shooting it, and you told us a story, and it was just crazy, like what you did. You were on a holiday in Bali or something like that with your family, and then you decided to pick up a license in diving.
Yeah,
and a few days later,
that's exactly it. Yeah, that was exactly it. It was like, when I look at my life and I look at all these projects, there's so many projects that should have never worked out. Like, so many of these should be failures, but somehow, like, I just pushed through and managed to pull them together. Mm-hmm. Like, when I landed in Bali, I didn't have a dive master, I didn't have a videographer, I didn't have any models, I had nothing.
Yeah,
I just had me and, like, a name. And so then I met up with a dive master who's just like, you don't have a dive license and you want to do this project? And I was like, yeah. And I guess because it was a friendly introduction by someone I had never met on Facebook called Cassandra, he just decided to take a chance. He helped me find the dresses. He helped me find the makeup artists. He helped me find one of the models. One of the other models flew herself in from Dubai. Siva flew himself in from Singapore to, like, shoot this underwater video. Paid for everything, the housing, rental, flights, all on his own. My cameras failed, and we still found an alternative camera. Like, so much shouldn't have worked out, but it all ended up working out. And I remember, like, 2 days before the photo shoot, I was in the process of, like, we were asking the hotel that we were staying at for bed sheets, like old bed sheets that we could use as costumes. And I was, like, cutting a dress together because we didn't have any clothing. So the plan, like, these guys could have been wearing, like, used bed sheets, but instead they're wearing these amazing wedding gowns. And so, take one piece out of the puzzle and this whole thing would have collapsed. And somehow, like, it's like basically a house of cards that somehow all held together.
And it's just amazing how you have somehow amassed all this crew, I would say crew members, in just a short span of time. I mean, and I know that you do have channels where people can approach you to have a call, or rather when you have a call to action and they actually can approach you, like Facebook groups and things like that. You have Wong in Germany, Wong in Singapore, and things like that. That's where you can actually get more.
Yeah, they don't work so well anymore. So Facebook groups used to be the way I organized people, right? I'd organize a new Facebook group for every country that I go into, but now there's so many groups and people don't really follow up there. So it's actually really hard to stay in contact with people.
Yep.
So the most effective thing, there are two things that I found to be most effective. One is, like, direct email. And so I actually started this other website that you can visit called vonwong.info. And it's just a Google form for people to fill out, because that way they can actually just, enter their information, and I can reach out to them whenever I'm in the right country.
Yep.
And so this Google form has like almost 3,000 entries.
Awesome.
That way I can just type in a city or a country that I happen to be in, and then I can reach out to people and say, hey, I'm in town, let's collaborate. So it's super simple, but it works super well.
Yep.
And then the other thing that I think is really, really important to do is always to find like your local hero, right? People think that these projects happen because I have a big following, but that's not true. These projects happen because I found one person on the ground who was willing to do the work and who was like able to like rally their community. Because ultimately it's that one person on the ground that is going to make things possible, the one that's willing to do the extra work and pull in the extra hours.
Yeah.
And when you find that piece of the puzzle, then everything else flows.
True. And when you decide to change your art direction, I would say, or maybe your creative direction, what about your fan base? Do they follow through over, or they just like, Ben used to shoot all this fire stuff, this epic stuff, but now he's going to environmental stuff. It's not something that I can relate to anymore. Do you encounter people like that?
I mean, so it makes sense that like people wouldn't follow you on all your life decisions. Right? Like if you're watching The Simpsons and you like Homer because he's fat and ugly and dumb, if one day he decided to go to the gym, become fit, and go to school and become smart, you just be like, it's not funny anymore. It's not Homer. Like it's not the guy that I signed up for. So I think in many ways like it's normal to stop following people. But the other part that makes it really hard to measure is like I don't actually know if people are following me less or not following me anymore because I've shifted creative directions or because they just don't hear about me anymore. I mean, like algorithms are changing, so I don't know. But I found it just like it's actually quite liberating to not have so many people follow you. The burdens of success, and I say this like humbly, like just the fact that you have tens of thousands of people listening to you and watching you and judging you for every decision that you make is actually quite tiring. And the fact that like now, like I have bigger social numbers than I have ever had, but I'm reaching less people than I ever had too on a regular basis because, if I wanted to have a following, I would need to follow certain rules of engagement within the platforms, and I just refuse to do that. So ultimately, like followers have kind of dipped out, and it's actually quite liberating, right? And I think it is forcing me to focus on what's important instead of chasing numbers that aren't really important. And so if I go back to this podcast again, when I think about how I want to spend my time, what does my dream week look like? My dream week isn't spent like constantly engaging with people that I don't know, asking the same questions about what camera I want to use and like double tapping every single comment and liking and following and refollowing people. Like that's not how I want to spend my time. I want to spend my time learning and growing and being curious about the world and having conversations with people, right? And so like if I want to spend time having conversations with people, how can I make that into something that I do more of? Well, then maybe I can do a podcast, right? Because now I can do a podcast and I can study these podcasts. I can reach out to people I want to talk to, just like how you're doing with the show. Building a sense of human connection, planting a little bit of serendipity, because those are the things that you enjoy. And so when you strip away the veneer of social media, you actually get left with, authentically, what do you want to do and what is important to you? And I think that's where like the most exciting kind of growth can come from.
I agree.
Yeah.
Awesome. And
super philosophical,
but very relevant, especially when we link back to what we talked about just now with regards to the pandemic, shutting everything down. It really kills off the superficial numbers, and this is the authentic as it can be, I suppose. Looking at your work, your portfolio, you've got so many going on, and there's so much. You even have a campaign with Huawei, I believe, a long time ago with the fire and all that. Now let's talk about achievements, right? This is just something I just want the audience to understand about the past Von Wong and the current Von Wong and the future Von Wong, right? So what are your latest and greatest, proudest personal achievements thus far?
I mean, I have lost every single competition that I have ever applied for. Like I lose every award. I've lost every fellowship. Like it's just not for me. Like I don't know why. Like I don't win photography competitions, but then ultimately where I do shine is in like relationship building with people, right? So I'm able to get sponsors. I'm able to build relationships. So receiving the Broncolor, like $24,000 of Broncolor equipment was because I randomly talked to a dude at a Broncolor booth in France who happened to be the CEO, who like a year later remembered meeting me, right? Like that's how I ended up with that Broncolor sponsorship. Similarly, like I think it's, all the different sponsorships and relationships that I've built are a result of just like communicating. Like I got connected to SmugMug because I was walking around and then one of the SmugMug employees pulled me over and decided to start a conversation. And so it's like, I think I've had really bad luck with awards because I'm a little weird and don't fit the mold. But then I've had really good luck in other things, like being able to stand up on a stage and tell my story because what I do is very, very different. So I think on a personal level, the greatest achievements are just any milestone that gave me the confidence to keep moving forward. Whether it was, an Indiegogo campaign. So when I first quit my day job, I raised $12,500 to travel across the world. That was just a really great validation that what I'm doing has interest, that has value.
Yep.
And then so the Huawei project that you mentioned, like that one project paid me more than my entire career combined at the time. And it was just like, oh, I can make it as a commercial photographer if I wanted to. But then it also told me that it's actually not what I want to do. It's not enough. Mm-hmm. And so I think when I think to like what I'm proud of generally are the less tangible things around, the lives I've managed to positively affect, right? Like that's so hard to measure, right?
Yep.
So you just told me that, it's big, I'm one of the reasons why you're leading a career in what you do right now. And like, that makes me feel good, assuming you're happy.
Oh yeah, of course. Consider the previous career.
But like, those aren't metrics. Like I can't say I've changed the lives of 6.7 people or like whatever. Like there's no number to it.
Yep.
But like ultimately, that's where I gain value from. Like if you're not out there creating something that's positively affecting somebody, if you're not creating something that's making the world a better place, then why are you doing it? So between the big plastic campaigns where, yes, it's 37 million views on Facebook, but what have the 37 million views accomplished? How many lives has that touched? Maybe the most exciting thing about those is not the fact that I got 37 million views, but the fact that these photos and videos are being used inside of schools teaching kids. Like that's far more exciting to me. And it's just so rare that I'm able to actually like hear and measure the impact of what I do. So I think there's a little bit of cognitive dissonance. There's like a gap between the information that I want and the information that I can have access to.
Yep.
And I don't really know whether or not that's going to be resolved in my lifetime unless I radically change my approach towards how I design my campaigns. And so that's something that I'm working on right now to figure out like, how do you design projects to better measure the impact that is ideally not based around surveys, because surveys are really expensive and time consuming. So I'm trying to play around with that. And I guess I've just done a bunch of random other things, like, from making a video that helped raise $2 million for a little girl who's dying of a terminal degenerative brain disease, or, helping to push different causes forward. I think it's funny because it's not about trying to brag about them. You just kind of, now as I'm speaking about this, I'm just like, oh, I have done quite a few things.
Yep.
Despite the fact that like right now I'm currently feeling like a total failure because I don't know what to do with myself. It's like this like really weird, like odd, like trying to hold space for the paradox of these two realities.
Like a limbo of sorts.
Yeah.
But I think what they say, the night is darkest before the first light. So maybe this could be that moment before you actually, rise up again. It could be a matter of time, but I guess you just have to just wait a bit, I guess. Okay.
Well, I don't even know if it matters, right? Like if my best projects happened already, and from this point forward I get to like chill, that could also be a good thing. Like you don't know really what's good and what's bad. I think and life has a way of just doing whatever life is going to do anyways. So better to just focus on the process and the journey and to not get too caught up in like the details, I think.
Sure. And people know you as someone who can actually bring a lot of communities together and produce art with a cause these days. So let's take a look at something that you did called The Last Straw.
Nature is struggling.
8 million tons of plastic in our oceans.
I have become addicted to plastic.
We all know about the last straw, right? That last little push in the wrong direction. The wait, stop, wait that won't stop. We can take no more. It climbs on top, and suddenly, everything collapses like a wave that rises high, then crashes, and this is where we are right now. I mean, we all know the stats. A truckload of plastics in the ocean every 60 seconds. A straw used for just minutes exists for 450 years. By 2050, there'll be more plastic in the sea than fish. We get it. I know, the last straw, it seems like such a tiny thing to tip us over, but it's not. Because it's not about that straw. It's about the way they all add up, and that means to take care of all of it. You don't take care of all of it, you focus on something, each of us, one thing, one effort, one repeated action at a time, and when you think about it that way, the last straw is no different from the first, just one part of a process, no better, no worse. After all, the last straw in one direction is the first straw in reverse. Sometimes we have to move inches to go miles, but with each straw not used, we can smile knowing we didn't contribute to a pile that breaks the back of the ocean, but invested in the notion we can bring the ocean back. And your last straw is the first straw towards that, and that is how it always works. One small action becomes a movement in the direction of a solution. Of course we can stop this straw apocalypse. We caused it. So now we either do the right something to fix it or the right nothing to pause it. And that's what the last straw is. Nothing. Just enough nothing, though, to push us in the wrong direction or the right one, because a straw is such a tiny thing until we don't use it. And if each of us refuse it, just watch how quickly all of that nothing adds up.
That was a very, very impactful approach towards tackling the problem with straws, and I realized that it's kind of like a recurring theme, the war on plastics. But just looking at the behind the scenes of that particular video, to see everyone coming together, coming to work together, and all that, and just now we did discuss how you actually connect with people through social media, like Facebook groups, in various countries, and how you actually find someone who can be a key guy or key lady who's actually be able to anchor down the entire project and then lead, by putting the extra hours and things like that. But what sort of difficulties do you face with regards to bringing all these people together?
Well, I mean, every project is just really difficult. With volunteers, you never know who's actually going to show up, right? And all you do is spend your days chasing after people, but then you not only need to chase after people for today, like the day people come, they need to have a good experience. You need to make sure that you actually have work for them to do. Because you're keeping in mind that most of the people who come, who drop in, are brand new. You don't know how long they're going to stay for. Some people don't just come for like half a day. Some people just come for like 2 hours. And then but then if you need to take 30 minutes to explain them what to do, and they're only going to be there for an hour and a half, and they're not even going to do a good job, that becomes really difficult. So then suddenly you need to start delegating. You need to start figuring out, well, the people who are coming, who's maybe their third time there now, they need to be in charge of explaining to the person who's just gotten there. And so figuring out that entire dynamic, figuring out how to feed people, making sure everyone has food is like another challenge. Keeping hours, making sure that everything is being recorded and videoed, because you're not just creating the thing, you're telling the story of how the thing was created at the same time. And then you're planning, like, where are the roadblocks going to be? So if it's a straw installation and we're like, okay, so for people to like so with the straw thing, you need to plan like, okay, first step is making sure that we have all the straws. Then the straws need to be cleaned.
Yep.
And if they need to be cleaned, they need to be cleaned, dried, sorted. Or do we want to sort first and then clean and then dry them? Like, which order do we want to do this in? What makes the most sense? You know, but then after that, we have to count them. So if we have to count them, like, what would make it easiest for us to be able to continue counting these straws? And what is the strategy going to be? And oh shit, we need to figure out where to store all of these things too.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we need to juggle this other relationship with the mall to let them make sure that we can store this. Oh, but how are we going to get it between the mall and the place that we're going to clean this? Oh wait, we haven't actually confirmed the place we're going to clean it yet, and that's going to happen tomorrow. And so that's kind of the constant dialogue. So you're just in like constant problem solving mode.
Yep.
But then ultimately, as you're like thinking about the future and all these different pieces, you need to make it a good experience. And people generally come there and they want to, like, they're there for the experience. They're not really there to clean straws. They're there to have a unique experience. And so like, how are you going to make sure that at the very least, you're talking to people, you're interested in them, you're figuring out why they're there, and you're making them feel like they're important and valued and so forth. And so like, I think there's just a lot of pieces of the puzzle that are all happening at the same time. And the more you can juggle all these pieces, the better the experience is going to be for everyone.
Yep, agree. And now the next question is, when you look at the installation art, the setup itself, how do you plan them? Or maybe do you have like, maybe you could share with the audience where you get these inspirations for the design? Like for example, the 10-meter tall wardrobe, or the archway, or even the circular one with the laptops for Dell. I think these are all very, very interesting. But where do you get these ideas from?
Yeah, I kind of steal ideas. Like I steal them from popular culture, because ultimately I think people respond positively to something that is weird but not too weird. So it has to be, it's different, but they've seen it somewhere before, and so there's a sense of familiarity. And so with the parting of the plastic sea, I just stole it from the Bible, right? It's the idea of Moses parting the sea. And then I went on Google Images and I just looked at like, how are different people representing what the parting of the plastic sea looks like, and then I had to go find someone who was willing to convert it into a 3D model, and then I had to figure out like how we might build it. And so it's like, you know, one thing just leads to the other. And similar with the tallest closet is like, what's a metaphor that everyone knows? Oh, everyone knows what a closet is. What if we made it really, really big? And then we just made it big. So it's like always thinking about like, how can I take things that people will find instinctively understandable and then convert it? I think what I would like to do more with my work, if I could take it one step further, it would be to make sure that it had very strong symbolism. And I think the strongest images are the images that convey their message without any words, right? So like my mermaid on 10,000 plastic bottles doesn't need any words, and you understand what the cause is. And I think there are some people who do that really well, Banksy being one of them. And I'd love to be able to do more projects that really just hit you without requiring any explanation whatsoever, because that I think is the true success of a powerful symbol.
True, agreed. And I think someone actually asked, Pegasus Spring Muses asks, how do you not burn out being pulled in so many directions?
On the actual projects, it's actually fine. Like you're just like permanently stressed for a couple weeks and then it's over. But you have like the adrenaline, and you have people there, and everyone's invested, and that's like the easy part. The hard part is like, in the past, like we would do these projects and then I'd go home and I'd be stuck with all this video footage, and I need to make like a behind the scene and create a launch, and that's just like really, really hard. I get energy from other people. Like I get excited with momentum. I get excited when other people are, you know, in the weeds with me, and it's like all the stakes are there. I actually think that's a cool part, because you're just in like constant problem solving mode.
Yeah.
But then when you leave that environment and you just suddenly, I mean, it's kind of one of the things I've had to sit with now, being at home and locked up and just, you know, everything being in my own head. You don't get that. You have almost too much space. You're like trapped with yourself and you have to figure it out. So I find it easier to be constantly in motion than to like be stopped and then have to like build momentum again. So I kind of have the reverse problem. And then then I guess, you know, what happens after one of these projects generally is like, I just don't do anything for the week after or the 2 weeks after. Like there's definitely like a down period. So there's like a recovery and then I just pick back up. So I don't know, like even if I wanted to do like to chain a second project right after a first, it just doesn't happen that way. Generally speaking, like, you know, my workflow is all or nothing. And so I have lots of period of nothing and some periods of all. And the nothing parts are actually the harder parts for me.
I understand. And I think Yon Zizi asked a very interesting question. Is there any cause that you definitely would not campaign for?
I think one of the questions I'm asking these days, especially with all the racial and social activism that's going on right now, is, am I the right person to tell the story, right? Have I done my homework? Have I listened long enough? Am I welcome in the community? I think it's really important to not speak up for people, right? You're not trying to tell people, I'm not speaking, like if I did a campaign for Singaporeans on like the inequities of the rich and the poor, but I wasn't Singaporean, like what am I doing? But if I was amplifying the words of someone who is a community leader, that would be okay. So I think it's like, there's these like slight nuances that are really important to explore. I actually explored it in the podcast I just released on Monday. You know, and this is exactly the kind of questions, the kind of philosophical questions that I love to explore and understand better so that I can become a better human being. But that's the part that's not flashy, right? You know, this is where you do the work, where you ask yourself like, oh, am I a racist? How racist am I actually? And to what extent do I like exert my privilege? And how have I harmed people with the best of intentions in the past? And how can I make sure not to do that again? And like, no one's gonna celebrate you for doing that, right? You're not gonna make a social post standing in front of, I don't know, a document that you read. Like, it's just not, like, you don't get the chance to brag about the work. And so I think a lot of the work happens behind closed doors. And too often, thanks to social media, we forget about like all that work that has to go in order for something to happen, for change to happen. So, you know, so to answer your question, I think it's just about making sure that whatever cause you stand up for responsibly. And then also using your own judgment. I mean, there are some things that some people would find ethically okay and other people draw the line in a different place. For me, because I campaigned so much as an environmentalist and now I know a lot more about it, that would preclude me from working with certain companies that I would feel I would be helping to do more harm, right? So I think that's just one of those conversations that you need to have with yourself, and just to be honest about it and to recognize, and if you do need to take the work because you know there's work and then there's making a living and not making a living, that's fine, but just be aware of where you stand and how you feel about it. And I think just that consistent honesty with yourself is what's going to make something from a project into a career, right? Because ultimately it has to be sustainable for yourself, otherwise you're going to burn out and you're not going to be happy.
Yeah, very good answer. I think that was something that Yonzizi probably can take home with. Okay, so recently you were in Singapore to run an installation art piece called Plasticophobia. Let's take a look.
What we've really done here is extend the life of 18,000 cups from approximately 6 minutes to a little over 6 weeks by building an immersive experience and art installation that we hope encourages everyone to be just a little bit more plasticophobic.
Alright, we're hunting for cups. Don't exactly know where to go, never been here before, so it's sort of a weird experiment right now. So I'm gonna talk to one of the cleaners. We're looking for plastic cups. You guys collect plastic cups? We're looking for like used cups. 我们在找这个已经杯子，脏的杯子。Food Center number 5. Trying to pick up our cups today has been a little bit of a mission. NEA, the National Environmental Agency of Singapore, reached out to the hawker centers who have collected with the cleaners who are supposed to be collecting cups for us. And we're just going around, just trying to collect all of this. It's been a little bit harder than anticipated, but I have a good feeling about this one.
Yes, we have cups.
我们要去做一个艺术品。谢谢。
are receiving the cups. Well, not really. Like eventually they'll end up in the incinerator. But creating an installation based off of these cups might have a ripple effect, and that's the gray zone that I love.
All right, and that's it. The last bag of cups collected. We had 4 cars out collecting cups over 2 days, and now it's all about cleaning. Woo! Here we go, we're moving our clear cups. We have 5,000 of them so far that have been cleaned, and we're making up a little pile over here for them to dry. Our goal today is to try to hit 10,000. Stacks are looking pretty clean and sparkly.
I think my favorite part is just seeing people come together around a cause and work really, really hard. I mean, these projects, they keep us up for weeks before it even starts. And just to see all of the people who, for one reason or another, decide to clean a bunch of dirty cups from hawker centers around Singapore, I mean, that's awesome. Like, in what world does that actually happen?
We just like to build stuff, you know, and our passion, I've been helping Ben with the structural system and basically how this whole thing is gonna look.
We're about to start gluing our cups onto the structure, 4 little points of glue, putting them on, mixing up the sizes, small, large, medium, and stacking them up to look as weird as possible. The hope is to fill our entire surface up with cups so that we can melt them, fuse them together, and make them look as creepy as possible.
Working with Ben is immensely frustrating, but even more gratifying.
We've lined up like 24 volunteers over the course of the next 12, 14 hours, and I don't know if we need them anymore because the entire plan that we had built just sort of fell into the water.
I love to hate Ben. He's my favorite person to love to hate.
The launch date is the same, and I think we have a solution. It's just one of those situations where it's like, creative direction has changed.
Messages get lost in translation when we're talking about impact. When you're trying to motivate people to do something or to not do something.
We need to redesign some stuff. So, slightly disconcerting, mildly stressful, part of the process. I'm gonna walk away now.
It's happening!
With everything back on track, all that was left to do was to pack up all of our dirty plastics and transport them to the Sustainable Singapore Galleries at the Marina Barrage, where our art installation would live for 6 whole weeks. But before wrapping things up, we wanted to make sure that the entire installation was photo ready. Having the chance to play and get creative is probably my favorite part of projects like these. With all of the hard work out of the way, there's suddenly this chance to explore and improvise. The opportunity to create something, a message that has a possibility of lasting forever. And our hope with a piece like this is that more people get the opportunity to come, experience it, and most importantly, share the story with others. Because together, we can spread this feeling of plasticophobia and start by saving our world 1 cup at a time.
The craziest thing for me is that this was only collected over 1.5 days. Like that just will always blow my mind.
If we could have left these cups dirty, I think it would have had a greater impact, but
We have to give people little rain jackets.
I don't think anyone would come, so
All the satay sauce will be dripping off.
we gotta make compromises, I guess. So what's next?
I don't know. You tell me. What's next?
I don't know, maybe someone over here has a good idea.
What's next?
What should we do next?
Alright, very, very good question to end off the video. What should we do next? So it seems to be like a recurring theme, the war against plastic. So why plastic in particular?
I mean, plastics is everywhere. You know, it's one of those really interesting things in that doesn't benefit anybody. You know, like plastics in the ocean is something that nobody wants, whether they're rich, poor, old, young, successful corporation, government, or otherwise. Whereas, I don't know, like deforesting the Amazon actually benefits farmers. It benefits governments. It benefits, local economy. And so plastics, I think, is one of those issues that sooner or later is going to come to an end, because like mismanagement of plastics and the disregard that we have for embedding it in everything that we use is so widespread. I've done a number of different campaigns, like even the clothing that we wear, like polyester, nylon, spandex, like these are things that have traces of microplastics in it. Look around you. There's probably, you can't spend a day not touching plastics, because it's everything from your clothes to your toilet to the kettle that you boil water in, and it's just so omnipresent. Yet it has nowhere to go. And so it's a wonderful thing in that it's enabled so much to happen, but at the same time, it's caused so much harm.
Yep.
And I think ultimately, it's been one of those movements that has been really fantastic to be a part of, in that we really saw the shift in like a 4 or 5 year period, going from like something that people didn't really know was a problem to being like public enemy number one.
Yep.
Until COVID-19. And now that whole conversation has sort of been set aside. So, this is just kind of the ebb and flow of the world. If anything, like single-use plastic usage has probably gone up significantly because of takeout food and so forth, because of like health precautions. So, I don't know when it'll be the right time to restart this conversation all over again. I think it's very uncertain. But it's definitely going to come back at some point. And plastics is an issue that, no matter how you spin it, is a problem. Not even for the next generation, but for this generation that's currently right here, right now.
And will we be able to hope for another similar project where you tackle on the problem with plastic, assuming COVID-19 has passed? Like you mentioned just now, because of COVID-19, people are ordering takeaways, people are putting on masks and all that, and disposing of them everywhere and anywhere. But on the hindsight, there is some good out of this, because people are like, trying to push for sustainability by introducing, I don't know, recently I saw on the news probably, some kind of fungus that actually consumes plastic. So there is some possibilities there as well. But in any case, will you be able to comment whether you will come out with something similar in terms of project-wise?
Yeah, so I'm personally quite tired of plastic campaigns, because I feel like it's the same message over and over. So if you're not going to be telling people anything new, if you're only going to be telling them something they already know, then there's no point in doing it, right? If art at its core is this thing about awareness and shifting people's hearts, and if there's no more shifts to happen, then why do it? So that being said, I was saying earlier when we first started this presentation that everyone likes to pigeonhole you in a specific category. And I've been pigeonholed as a guy who likes to make, take trash and make it into art. And so the requests are still coming in. Now, whether or not one of these comes through, whether or not it's at the right time, with the right people, with the right budget, with the right materials, and the right, ecosystem, we'll have to see. But I don't think it's a hard no. I don't think it's a hard yes. I think, like with everything in my life, if it feels like the right thing to do, if it's a way that I can be helpful and serve and come up with something cool, creative, and supportive and interesting, then I'll just do it.
Awesome. And life-wise for yourself, I mean, you were based in San Francisco for a while, but now you're back at home in Canada with your parents. So what else has changed since COVID-19?
Everything has changed since COVID-19 for me. My entire industry has disappeared. If you think about what I do, I gather people together in order to create, social movements, which aren't happening, and it's being paid for by people who are in the event industry, which aren't happening. And it generally happens globally because my work is so weird. So it needs kind of a global network in order to power it, which isn't happening. And the way I fund my clients is through conferences and speaking engagements, which aren't happening. And so regardless of which vertical you look at, no matter how like diversified I was across these like different mediums, my whole world has kind of disappeared. I had like 6-figure jobs just drop out because entire marketing campaigns got removed and shifted, and budgets were cut and moved around. And I don't think, I never felt really sad about it. I think I felt a little bit concerned, but I didn't feel sad in that, the world's going to do whatever the world's going to do. And I don't find it very helpful to dwell on all the like what ifs and could be's. And so, like I was saying earlier, I've been actually trying to really think about like what kind of opportunities do I get to have as a result of COVID-19? Like, what are some of the unique opportunities that I currently have? Like, I have the opportunity to slow down. I have the opportunity to play. I don't have to worry about being interrupted by work. I can spend more time with family. My sister's going to give birth in a couple weeks or a week, or I don't know when. So I'm going to be an uncle for the first time. And,
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't do any of it. I just waiting. And I'm playing with this podcast. I'm playing with the art. So like my podcast has gotten a lot more serious as a result. And I just think like, we never know when something that we learned is going to end up being useful.
Yep.
When I was 18, I was playing Diablo 2 8 hours a day. And one might look at that and be like, what a tremendous waste of my life. And I agree, it wasn't maybe the most effective, but I spent like a year and a half being a hardcore gamer, and I was trading, I was on forums and so forth. I was part of guilds. But one of the things that I learned there that I was able to recognize a little later down the line was that I had learned how to build community and trust virtually without ever meeting someone face to face. And that was something that like I had been able to learn how to do in a time where this was uncommon, right? Like back in 2010, like what was an online community? It still hadn't been quite defined. And so, that gave me the edge. And I just think that there's so many things that we do in life that aren't supposed to be the thing that we really want to do, but that we're just kind of doing.
Yep.
And so the importance of pursuing your curiosity and to explore and to be okay with that like uncertainty is not a bad thing. And if COVID-19 has like done anything, I think it's reminded us that like we are not in control of life like we think we are. And we like to fall into these patterns just as human beings do. But it's a reminder that like anything can happen at any point in time. So are you really doing what you want to be doing? Are you doing the thing that truly excites you, that helps you wake up in the morning? And if you're not, now is a perfect time to reconsider what exactly you want to do.
Yep.
And if you need to get a job, do the thing for money, just to get money, and then do the thing that you really want to do. Like keep that exploration spirit going. And we're all super resilient, right? Everyone has the ability to adapt to almost any situation. They just often don't get given the chance, but like now is the chance. Like now everyone is expected to fail.
Yeah.
So if you fail, you're just like everyone else.
True.
And it's okay, right? If you sit at home, nothing's going to change, and that's a lot less exciting than a really spectacular failure. So I don't know. That's kind of how I'm looking at it right now.
But even so, I like the fact that even though you're stuck at home, you still are doing something like you're just exercising your creativity. I mean, like you said, you could just choose to sit down and do nothing. I mean, I could choose to sit down and watch Netflix all day or play Diablo 3 now because Diablo 3 now. Yeah? But we didn't, because we chose to do something else. And I think this is something that a lot of people watching at home can identify with, or at least try to understand, so they can identify with and get out of that rut. Because right now, yes, life is shit because of COVID, but underlying all that, there's still that human spirit that you can still tap on and hopefully do something different. And like for example, Ben.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, with the creative project that I did with my parents, I can certainly talk to that. But that was like really triggered by the fact that, I'm the photographer of the family. And so I'm supposed to be taking maternity photos of my sister. And so it was this sort of question, like, what do we do? Because my sister doesn't like romantic, cute stuff. For her like pre-wedding photos, we like climbed up the side of a cliff and hung her off a cliff. And
I remember that one.
She was wearing like a maternity outfit. And it was like, oh, well, what do we do this time around? But like everyone's on lockdown. No one's going anywhere. Like, what can we do? And so my mom started like, coming up with all these like weird ideas of doing miniatures. And I was just like, yeah, maybe it could work. And so we just went ahead and did it. And it was less about, I think, so many of my projects are about the outcome of what it's going to accomplish, like how many views it's going to get, is it going to go viral, what am I going to learn from it, like how am I going to grow, and it's always like very tactical. And in this case, the whole purpose was just create some cool images that my sister would find interesting. And along the way, I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to be creating this stuff anyways, I should try to make some videos. If I make some videos, like what's like a new platform I can play with, because Instagram is sort of dying and Facebook is dying. So like, what's a new platform I can play with? And I was like, oh, I'm going to study TikTok videos and I'm going to copy them. And I'm going to try to create a TikTok-esque video. And so, once again, taking the opportunity, like, oh, if I'm going to be doing something that I'm going to be doing anyways, how can I learn from it? How can I do something differently from it? And that's kind of what catalyzed from there. So yeah. Did you want me to show the images?
Oh no, actually I can play the video because I do have a
play the video.
Yeah. So let's take a look at this project that was done at home. I think it's really, really epic. Stand by. I think that was really, really awesome to actually have the whole family be involved in your projects, and I think it's really cool that it still runs parallel with your idea of using trash to make art again.
Yeah, definitely. The video you showed is the video that was on YouTube, right?
Yep. And it's a compilation
Cool.
of all
I want to
the
share.
TikToks.
I want to share like what this actual piece looks like, which is
sure.
the piece that went viral on TikTok.
Okay.
Oh wait, actually, I think I shared it without sound. That again. Because I just want to show you like the same piece of content can be cut in different ways, right?
Yep.
So what you saw was something that I was like, oh, I'm just gonna optimize a different format because it wasn't designed for YouTube, but this is what it looks like when it was designed for TikTok.
Right.
And since quarantine, she's been getting creative. Because I'm a photographer and my sister is 8 months pregnant, she asked if we could do a maternity photo shoot, but with fruits and vegetables. What? I know, crazy. Here's the story. It all started with my dad eating corn and mom noticing that corn looked like skyscrapers. So I came up with a master plan, got my sister and her husband to copy some poses from Instagram and got to work. I selected the best poses so that we could print, cut, and attach their tiny little silhouettes to a little piece of wire, while mom focused on world building. Once our little city was set up, all we had to do was create a sunset using a little orange pouch and a phone light.
A little higher.
Done. Unfortunately for me, mom is now excited, and she's discovered that pomegranates look really interesting from the inside, and my sister wants more photos too, like for part 2.
So it's
This
like
is my mom,
a very
and since
different style from other things that I've done in the past, and it was just like, how can I adapt myself to make it fit the platform? And you'll notice that like in the beginning of every TikTok video, it's always about making it relatable, a sense of awe and friendliness, but a sense of curiosity, like, oh, what's going to happen? What are these weird people doing? And so it's like kind of like taking these little fun, memorable elements and putting it together. And that's how I stitch all these videos together. And ultimately, when I put these together, I ended up compiling them, into a blog post just because I thought it would be heartwarming and fun. We actually managed to get on the local news, which was kind of cool. Oops. All right. But I focused. Oh, you're looking at the wrong screen.
Yep, you gotta swap it.
Okay, whatever. So yeah, I was actually like putting these compilation videos together because like ultimately the photographs are cute, but they're not epic. What's epic is like when you put them side by side with all the process of how it was done, right?
Yeah.
And so remembering once again that it's not just about what you do, it's about how you got there and what the story around it is going to be, is something that's really, really interesting and important. And even though this is like by far not the most epic kind of projects that I have done in the past, there's still something that can be learned, right? So it's like, oh, if I'm going to do this for my family and I want to like play around with something and I want to experiment with a new platform, what might I learn from it? Who knows? And in this case, I have some statistics here, which is kind of interesting. So this was TikTok. In the course of 7 days, I basically got 100,000 followers.
Wow.
Yeah. Whereas when I posted the exact same content on Instagram, I made 8 posts on Instagram. Sorry, I made 10 posts on Instagram. 1 photo, 1 video, 1 photo, 1 video. And I got 591 followers. I was actually losing followers for the beginning for a little while until it finally started picking back up a little bit. And then on Facebook, I only got 135 followers.
Wow. And
keep in mind, on Facebook, I have 350,000 followers. On Instagram, I have 105,000 followers. On TikTok, I had like 100 followers. So it's just like a really, really interesting thing to be like, oh, now is the time to be investing in TikTok, even if it's going to be recycling my old content. And that's actually like something that I've been wanting to do. I just haven't really felt like the motivation to do because I'm like, once again, like, what is the outcome that I want to have? Am I really going to enjoy the process? I'm not really sure. There's like, the motivation is not really there. And there's so many other things that I want to do and use with my time. But it's something that I think I'm most probably going to do once this whole like Black Lives Matter movement, blows by a little bit, because it's definitely worth experimenting. By just having 100,000 new followers on my TikTok, it accomplishes a couple things. First, I can go from saying I have 500,000 followers to I have 600,000 followers. So that's a 20% increase with one video.
Yeah.
Right? That's crazy. And the other thing that it accomplishes is it makes me more relevant to today's trends. Because now you're saying, I can't really go viral on Facebook anymore. I can't really go viral on Instagram. But I actually know how to gamify TikTok, right? So it gives you the ability to stay relevant. And I think that's one of the things that's really exhausting, is that you always need to keep up with the different trends that are going. But sometimes, especially when you have time, use that time to play. Don't use that time to sulk and feel sorry for yourself. So I think that's kind of where I wanted to end that.
And Manuel Gutsman asks, how long did it take to produce one of those projects, the one of your family approximately?
Oh, we did 1 or 2 a day. Those are the photo shoots. We took all the photos in one afternoon. So that only took a couple hours. And then the little miniature worlds would take about 1 hour, sometimes 2 hours to like build up the little worlds with the help of my mom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Quite quick. And then the video editing was probably, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 hours per video, because I spend a lot of time on the script trying to make sure that the scripts are good. But yeah, the actual editing is quite easy.
Yeah, pretty cool. Furry Photo says effort level very high.
Yay!
Yon says, "Mez, are you starting TikTok tomorrow?" Actually, I do have a TikTok account. It's just that I don't know how to make use of it. But I guess. But
it's the easy thing, right? You just need to look at what the most successful videos are doing and then copy them.
Exactly. I think
look at what like Jordy Kodalik is doing on his TikToks.
Yeah, man.
You have all these like toy photos, which would be perfect for it.
Yep. And I think it's probably something I can explore, because I do have this thing called the Ready Play One project, which, as you can see, there's some toys in the back. They're all lined up for that project, but it is coming up soon. Recipe asks,
you can just make it kind of an expectation versus reality kind of.
Yeah.
clips.
Worth looking into.
Shorter
definitely.
clips do better, so 15, 20 seconds would do perfect.
Can do. Peter M. Tan from Malaysia. This is all the way from Kuala Lumpur says, hi Ben. And Recipe is Henry, the guy who did a video for your plasticophobia. I'm pretty sure you remember him. He asks, what's your favorite failure? Very philosophical question.
No, they're all fun. I think the time, I had 2 times where I failed to light a person on fire. And then the fact that I failed those 2 times led me to meet the guy for the 3rd time, where I met a pyrotechnician in France to create all the fire photos that I was really known for, which eventually got me the biggest job of my career. So I guess that one's the most linear series of failures that has led to something really, really tangible. So I guess that one would have to be the favorite failure, lighting humans on fire.
And you mentioned previously about your podcast, Impact Everywhere. Maybe we could share where people can tune into your podcast.
Yeah. So the podcast is called Impact Everywhere. They can check it out on impacteverywhere.org, or if they are not interested in listening to podcasts, we post snippets of the podcast on Impact Everywhere Podcast on Instagram. I think, so often podcasts focus on the stories, what is the life story of a person. I think what I've tried to do with this series is to focus first and foremost on the lessons that people have to share, and focus on how, not just what people are doing, but how they're doing it and why they're doing it. How are they measuring impact? Why are they thinking in certain ways? And I think it's only by surrounding yourself with people who are doing impactful work that your mind starts to see impact everywhere. And I think that's something that I'm personally looking for more, and I think that the world is looking for, but just doesn't know where to find it. So I'm trying to help bridge that gap right now.
Awesome. And I think the audience at home will be happy to know that your Impact Everywhere is actually on Spotify as well. I just follow it.
On Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify as well.
Yep. And it's all free.
Yep.
With no ads, because I have no sponsors. So it's perfect.
Awesome. Okay, you used to run workshops and all that, so do you have any plan to do any more workshops, but this time more towards engaging people to follow through with your plans towards environmental social awareness instead of just photography techniques like you did in the past?
I don't know. Honestly, I think because of the work that I've done, people are so focused on how can I do the cool thing and not how can I do all the work. And so in the past, as I've tried to do more and more activism-based workshops, people are just not interested. They come in, there's just a misalignment of expectations between what actually needs to be done in order to get to the final result and the amount of work people are willing to put in, because it's so different from what they're expecting. And I just don't know. I haven't experienced much success there. And when I say success, I don't mean in terms of being able to book a class. I mean success in being able to convert people into activists.
Yep.
And so it's an interesting question. I think right now I'm more focused on figuring out what the formula is. I think if I can better create the formula for people to become more successful activists, as opposed to what is the formula for people to become more like me, I think it'll be more interesting. As an artist, you spend your entire career trying to be unique and different.
Yep.
But as an activist, you want to empower everyone to stand up for themselves. And so it's 2 very different directions. And I'm not sure how they join right now. And that's something that, I think as I do this podcast, one of the byproducts is I'm basically doing research. It's like doing research for a book or something. So maybe as I collect all this different knowledge from different people, perhaps there'll be some patterns that emerge that can result in some form of workshop or framework that I think the world could use. But, now is not, I don't know if now is the time for activism, in that everyone is so focused on surviving.
Yeah.
No one's focused on helping other people. But the irony of it is that I believe when you focus outwards on all the other people that are less fortunate than you, and you focus on how you can serve them and make a difference, you find meaning and place and purpose in yourself.
Yep.
Right? So it's almost like in the times where things are the worst for you, you can find the most value in actually reaching out and helping others. It's like the antidote to helplessness. And I don't know how to like convince people to do that unless I have more success stories of my own. So I have like 2 other projects that I've been working on. I'm volunteering with an organization called Get Us PPE down in the United States, which is trying to get personal protective equipment to different organizations. So if a big successful campaign comes out of that, it'll be a new case study for me. And then similarly, I'm working on another project called The Other Heroes, where we're hunting for heroes all over the world, and we have 50 videos from 30 different countries right now of people helping other people all across the world, and I'm just hoping that we can have more of these stories come to life. So yeah, that's a little bit of what we're working on, and I don't like, even if they're not a success, like I still feel good doing them, and I think maybe that's the most important part, right? Is to remind yourself why you're useful in the world, and that indeed the world is worse off if you were to sit around and do nothing.
True. And right now it's something that a lot of people have probably been asking, and in fact you just shared this previously in a quick like a flash on the screen. If someone wants to engage you to do a project, what would be the criteria that you look up for?
Oh, to hire me? I think
if let's say you want to engage someone to do a project, yeah, what would be the criteria that you look up? Sorry, wrong question. Where can they reach out to you?
Oh, no, people can reach out to me. Yeah, just go on vonwong.info.
Yep.
I think it's the best way to reach out, and just say, hey, I'm in town. This is where I live, and I'd love for you to reach out the next time you're in town. And these are the things that I know, or these are the things that I'm interested in, or these are the things that I can maybe help with. And because it's one big Excel spreadsheet, so I just use it as keywords. So I'll search, let's say I'm looking for I don't know, a cave or a mountain in a specific country, then I'll just search for cave and mountain and it just creates like a database of people around the world that I can reach out to.
Sure. Okay, so let me just share the link, and for those people watching at home, this is something that's very important because it does tie in with the contest, the quiz that we're gonna have by SmartMark. And A-MEZ-ING should learn not to read 2 screens at the same time. That's why the questions came out jumbled up. Okay, so this is the Let's Collaborate link. Alright, so this is a form that Ben actually has created. And I think you can approach it by, of course, not through this link. This link's a bit long. It's vonwong.info, right?
Yep, vonwong.info, I-N-F-O.
So I'm just going to copy the link and put it in. Oh, actually, Katudes helped me put a link already. Thank you so much. But I'll just put it up anyway on the Twitch chat box. So anyone who wants to work with Ben, you can actually reach out to him via this Let's Collaborate form. And I think it's a very cool way to actually reach out to you instead of stalking on your social media. And this is actually where you can actually write out what you can actually contribute. I think that's really awesome. Okay. And I like this part here. This really reminds me of the time when you were so nomadic and sharing with us how you were literally riding on the back of a truck in Penang. I remember that one as well. Okay, so anyway, here is something that you guys are probably very keen about. We do have a contest going on. So Jarvis, can you please tell us how to sort that out? Okay, let me press the button. Oh, Jarvis fell asleep. Jarvis is my bot. Yeah, he got disconnected. How do you get disconnected? Okay, never mind.
Wow, you can talk to your bot?
Kind of, if I press the button. Well, not really. It's just that it sounds cooler that way. Here's the link. Alright, so we do have a SmartMark giveaway where you can win for yourself a SmartMark Pro 1-year subscription plan worth USD $360. And this is actually courtesy of SmartMark, where you can actually start your own portfolio or photography website. And I think it's really awesome. You can see that Ben uses it, myself, I also use it as well. Very easy to use, and this is actually one of the best ways in fact to start your photography journey by having a decent website. Alright, so that's pretty much it. And the question is very simple. I'm not going to share with you the questions. Of course, this is linked to your own personal account. This is your chance at getting your account straight up. And I'm sorry about to say this, but existing SmartMark users, you can't participate because this is only for new users, and it's open to everyone all around the world. I'm so sorry, but that's just the way it is. And this is of course Ben's Instagram. Do follow him. Okay, he does have some of his awesome works here as well. Check it out. Yep, right. And I think I like this one, the one that you just put up recently, that I Can't Breathe. It really is relevant to the current situation right now in the United States of America, and it's it's just timely, I feel, that we have this conversation as well. So yeah, do check it out as well. All right. Okay. So Ben, next question on everyone's mind is. James asks, where can people stalk you? Okay, you have your social media. I just shared that as well. Next question that people ask is, Ben, so what will you do next? I
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, does anyone know what we're gonna do next? I mean, the world doesn't know what's gonna happen next. I think I'm just going to continue exploring my curiosity. I think that's the most important thing right now is just to think, just to wait and see what happens. But in the meantime, focus on learning and growing and thinking more. I think for a long time, I've been thinking about how do you shift from execution into ideation? Like, how do you go from like doing and moving into thinking? Because thinking is actually where you make more money, and that also leaves you more time to do the things that you really want to do. From a project perspective, I've really been asking myself, how do I better design projects to measure their impact? And so I think I'm looking at designing projects in a different way. I'm looking for better case studies of success. I'm looking for stronger collaborators, people who are invested more in the outcome of the project rather than the output of the project. And so I think it's all very, very technical, right? Like none of that sounds exciting, but I think the results can be exciting because once you figure out the mechanics of what exactly you're trying to accomplish, how you go around and do it is the part that I've kind of just spent a decade perfecting. So I think now is the time to think because now I have the space to think.
Yeah. Okay, Ben, any last advice to the audience who are still tuning in right now?
Last pieces of advice. I don't know. Be nice to yourself. I think we often put so much pressure on ourselves on where we should be in life or where we think we're going to be. And if there's anything, I think the COVID-19 crisis has forced us to reconsider who are we if we are not what we do? Who are we if we're not the amount of money that we make? Who are we if we are unable to, do what everyone expects us to do?
Yep.
And hopefully by asking that question, you are learning something new about yourself. Whether that's something more you want to work on, whether it's something you want to discover, whether there's a question you haven't explored for a very long time. And so, if you have the privilege of time right now on your side, use that privilege either to help others or to explore what is important to you. And in that pursuit, a couple years down the road, we're all going to be looking down at this point in time and be like, oh, because of COVID, I was able to do X. Well, what did that change in you? And hopefully that was for the better. So, looking at your life from a third person perspective, I think is sometimes helpful.
Awesome. I think I can speak for everyone here. Thank you so much for your inspirational words and for sharing a little bit of your slice of life at this very extraordinary time. So Ben, thank you so much for being a beacon of inspiration for art, for creativity, and for causes all around. I think this is.
Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, no worries,
for putting in all the work.
Yeah, it was really awesome to have you on the show. Really, thank you so much. Okay, so guys, I think everyone's like saying thank you. Yep, it's awesome. Thank you. Yep. Okay, so thank you so much, Ben. I'll see you around. I'll keep in touch with you. I'll just put you behind the scenes for a while because I need to close the show. I'll speak to you right after the show. Yeah, just give me a sec.
All right, take care.
All right, see you. Okay. Right, guys, that was a really, really awesome session with Ben. And of course, I think it's really awesome that everyone is actually tuning in right now. I hope that you guys enjoy the show that we put together. Having Ben up early in the morning is really, really different for him. The time zone is all, Earth is not flat. So it's good to see everyone joining us this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, this is a call to action. If you guys want to show support for this channel, again, please send your love through the Razor Tip stream. Okay, use a QR code or even it's as simple as just following and subscribing to the channel, and I'm more than grateful for that as well. Jarvis has fallen asleep, so I can't share the schedule. But anyway, this is just a gentle reminder. I will be on this coming Saturday at 5 p.m. Singapore time. Unfortunately, I still have not gotten confirmation from my guest, so I'll try to get a confirmation by tomorrow. So by tomorrow, if I still can't get a yes or no from the upcoming guest, then I'll probably have to do a different topic. I do have some announcements to make for that particular Saturday, so maybe we can just do a gear talk or something like that. And if you have any questions with regards to photography, feel free to just tune in and pop them during the chat box. Okay, and with that, again, a call to action. If you guys want to collaborate with Ben Von Wong, okay, you can always go to this channel and you can what? Wesley, the show must go on. Can you sing for us a change if your guest doesn't turn up? I will try. Okay, so this is where you can actually go to in order to reach out to Ben and then volunteer for a project, okay? Or if you want to have a meeting with him or you want to collaborate with him, this is how you can go about it. All right. At the same time, also, this is a gentle reminder: if you guys want to take part in a competition, this is open to all of you guys as long as you do not have a SmartMark account. Go over to this URL over here and participate in the contest. It's really awesome. You get to win a $360 USD worth of 1 year subscription plan to a SmartMark Pro account. So there we go. Okay. So anyway, do take care of yourself, stay safe, and I hope to see you guys on this coming Saturday at 5 p.m. Yeah, keep in touch. All right, bye bye.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation.
On 3, 1, 2.